Hello and welcome to Collaborate Live. This is episode number 9. My name is Bev Holden. I'm from the Clear Thinking Partnership, and today I'm joined by Sukh Pabial. Sukh is head of OD at One Housing Group. I know Sukh because of actually Twitter. So it's kind of a common way to meet people at the moment. He has sirens in the background as well. So Sukh and I met originally on Twitter, but then have spent some time face to face, particularly through L&D Connect and the Unconference events that I've been to, where Sukh's been one of the facilitators. And apart from the prolific blogging that Sukh does, and he's really interesting writing around learning, he's also really interested in positive psychology. So I've no doubt that a lot of those things will be woven into what we talk about today. So for this series, we're exploring collaboration from a range of different perspectives. And so it's great to talk to somebody today, having had a number of perspectives from freelance and independent consultants. We've actually got to talk today to somebody who has got an internal perspective as well. So it's going to be really interesting. So hello, Sukh. Good to talk to you.
Hi, Beth. How you doing?
I'm really good, thanks. I'm really good. So you know the kind of things that I want to talk to you about today. So I'm really interested because I know that you believe in collaboration and conversation, and that's really aligned with what we believe is important in relationships in the workplace. So I'm really intrigued to know about your personal experiences of collaboration, when it works really well, and what were some of the things that you've noticed? What are the conditions that are in place that make those collaborations really successful?
So that's a really great question, and it's in thinking about it, I kind of have to really cast back and go, when did I start doing this collaboration thing? And actually, you know, the word collaboration, I mean, obviously it's been around for ages, but in terms of business speak, it's only really come around in recent years. But actually, I think about it, and I've been doing it for years. Absolute years, but I guess we just never called it collaborating. You know, I think we just used to call it teamwork or just working together or something like that. You know, and so yeah, you know, it really has been years. You know, so at least for like the last 15 or so years, I can remember that I've been doing stuff of various sorts. The stuff I've really enjoyed is when I've been with a group of other people. We've come together, we've had a reason for being together, and we help each other to get the best outcome. And so that's kind of one of my immediate reflections, is that it's kind of been going on for ages. But then actually, I'm going to get a bit philosophical about it now, but actually though, we've been doing this, as a people, we've been doing this for more than that. You know, we've been doing this for absolutely ever. And it's interesting that it's becoming a much more modern phenomena in an organisational setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a natural way to be. We're hardwired to work together, to be in communities, and to make stuff happen. And I guess it's the word collaboration has suddenly become quite popular in terms of describing what we want more of in an organisation. This would be a solution to some of the problems that we have in organisations in terms of getting particular results or whatever. But yeah, we absolutely are hardwired to do it. And you started out just by talking about enjoying being with people and enjoying coming together and collaborating on things. What are the ingredients that made, when you think about either successful collaborations that you've been in, or some of the you've either witnessed or facilitated, because sometimes looking at things from the outside you get a different perspective. What makes them work? What makes those collaborative situations work?
Lots of things. So I mean, I guess it's a cliched answer, in that you have to be able to trust the people that you're with. So but I think that's true of pretty much a lot of working well and being well with others, is that level of trust anyway. So if we take that as a given, that you have to trust the people that you're with, then I suppose there's other things that come to mind that you have to, that that build out from that, I suppose, that help you to get what that sense is. So there's things for me around, so when we do the L&D Connect on conferences or any other kind of activity that sits around that, one of the things that I think we do well is that we challenge each other really, really well. So we challenge each other in a way which is, so either that helps you to develop your thinking, or it helps you to refine your thinking, or to even change your thinking. And those kind of elements, I think, are important, because if you're going to try and achieve something, then you have to have that personal capability that says, I need to be open to whatever is about to happen, and just because I've got an idea doesn't mean it's the best idea, and at the same time I need to be able to hear somebody else's input and help them either move through that or help them understand why it's not going to work in that setting.
Yeah, there's that element of vulnerability, so going into a situation and being willing to have what you think is the truth be perhaps unpicked, or that brilliant idea that you've hung your hat on, suddenly someone says, I think it's a rubbish idea, it's not going to work, and this is why. So it's being vulnerable and allowing yourself to be challenged as well. I think there has to be some equality almost between the person doing the challenging and the person being challenged. So there's the desire to challenge and the willingness to be challenged. And some of that definitely, there's got to be some trust there. What else? And it's interesting you mentioned the word vulnerability there. Is that actually that probably inherently also tells you that collaborating or collaboration isn't a natural thing for a good portion of people, because they don't want to put themselves in that space. They don't want to be in that space where they're going to get challenged in that way. And so for them, collaboration is probably the worst thing that they could ever dream to be involved with. Because why would they? So if you're a person who holds on to concepts like power and status and superiority and whatever else that means for you, then actually collaborating with people is going to be against every value that you hold dear. So there's something for me around that. You have to believe in collaboration as a tool, or as a facilitative technique, or as a methodology, or however you want to describe it. But you have to believe in collaboration as a beneficial thing, either for you or for the other person, or for the joint purpose of what you're trying to achieve. That. I think you're right about the willingness to give away power as well. So it's not just the vulnerability thing, is it? It's when you collaborate, no one has any power in that situation, or you should all be very equal in that situation. Although sometimes I wonder whether that means that kind of things slow down too much, and if you don't have someone almost at the front driving towards an outcome. How do you get that balance right, so that people are equal in the collaborative relationship, but it's still driven towards an output with no power in it?
I think that's a great question, and for me, I guess there's something really there about actually that power is shared amongst a group, and just because you're collaborating, it doesn't mean that you can't have that drive. It doesn't mean that you don't have ambition. It doesn't mean that you don't have a clear direction. It just means you have an attitude and a mindset that says, actually, I believe that being with others, seeking their input, and being in an environment where I can achieve something better with others, that means that we can do something in a different way, as opposed to I drive that individually. And so in that setting, I wouldn't see that those things are absolved, or I don't see that those things are given away necessarily. It's that whoever wants to take responsibility for those keeps that, and they help it move forward. but it's with that attitude and that mindset that says, but we're going to do this together. And that's where I come from on that.
Yeah. That makes sense. You said something about being better together, and you know that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about being willing to recognise that you can be best together. Not in every situation. I think there are some situations where collaboration may not be the best solution to get in looking for. But so can we talk a bit about what you do in the day job and how collaboration plays a part in there? Some of the conversations we've had in the series so far have been about as freelancers, I've enjoyed a different kind of collaboration to the collaboration I had in the workplace.
Yeah.
Because I have choice, I can choose who I play with.
Yeah.
And there was a comment around that, and you said actually no, maybe you can still choose to do that in an organisation. So that's one of the things I'm interested in. But you know, go wherever you like in terms of talking about how it figures in what you do.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that what I learn about when we collaborate, when we do L&D Connect activities, or when I've been involved in other activities, is that we're doing things there which are driven by some other purpose other than this is for organizational benefit, or this is driven for profit making in some way, or anything else that sits around that work normal kind of mentality. So when it comes to, oops, something just beeped there.
Yes, it's all right. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, fine. We'll carry on. So in an organizational setting, there's something there which says that, well, we're going to come together and collaborate because we have organizational objectives that we're trying to meet.
Yeah.
Or we have an organizational culture which encourages collaboration. And I think there was one great example of this I saw, wasn't a part of directly, but I certainly enjoyed knowing that it happened. And this was at a previous company, and what happened there was it was a client project-based organization, so everything that happened there was for clients. It was all project-based, and we used a number of different tools to help those things happen. And what they decided to do was to do an off-site meeting of the project teams with invitations to clients and an external group of facilitators to all go and talk about what is it that we are all trying to achieve in collaborating, and what's stopping that from happening, and how can we make that better. And what was great about it was that it wasn't just one client, it was a number of clients. It wasn't just one project team or one type of person, it was a lot of different people from the project teams that were involved. And there were lots of different levels as well. So it wasn't just the exec team that went out there. It was some of the project managers, it was some of the developers, it was some of the creative folk that we had. And they all came together and had a great discussion around, so how are we going to be better? How are we going to work together to get the best outcome of things? And I think that's a really great example of organizational collaboration right there, is where you're able to throw things up in the air like that and say, let's see where these land and what that means for us, and how can we evolve something out of this.
Yeah, and there's much more of an appetite to do that, and I think people are recognizing that they can be a little bit better. They're incrementally better. They can do things that make a difference that aren't about transformation and big change. It's just you can often make something special happen as a group of people. Most things you need people around you, and you need the energy of those people and the input of those people to make stuff happen. So sounds like a really interesting initiative.
Yeah, that was. But then I'm thinking about it. That was a big culture piece that we were trying to work with there. But then, a lot of what we do, a lot of what I do, is more around. So, we want to run a management development program. So, how are we going to get people on board with that, and how are we going to get managers clued up to what that program is, how do we get their managers involved and what have you. And there's a lot of natural, almost, collaboration that has to happen there. Because if it doesn't, then the program won't be a success. And so that looks like different things for me when I look at that organisationally. So I have to think about things like who are the right people to go and talk to, and when I go talk to them, what is it they want to hear, and what are the messages that I need to make sure that I'm reinforcing as we're doing that. And if I'm seeking their involvement to actually deliver some of the program, then how am I asking them to do that? And why should they get involved to do that as well? Through to things like, people aren't attending the sessions. So how do we get people involved in addressing that and in being able to find out what's going on there and what can we do about it to make it better? And I don't know if those would be identifiable as collaboration in its truest form, but it's almost the default way of describing what those things are.
It's and I know exactly the scenario that you're painting a picture of. I've experienced that for myself, and you do have to engage with those populations to get to make sure that everyone has input in terms of creating and making sure that that thing rolls and that it works. That makes sense. That sounds like collaboration to me. And then within that, there's an element of salesmanship and promotion. That the people that you're dealing with recognise the benefits. And we're all in the business of sales and marketing, I guess, all of the time. And so as part of collaboration, one of the skills that we have to have, I suppose, is that ability to sell a concept or an idea to get that buy-in, or to get people to act, because you want people to take action, don't you? So collaboration isn't always just about let's throw some ideas around and see what we can come up with that's better than before. Sometimes it is about convincing.
Yeah, it is, and I guess it's I totally agree with that. It is about selling a point of view forward, helping people to find a way to get on board with that, and and also finding a way for people to be able to challenge that in a way which they're comfortable with as well, and being able to work with that in some way. And I guess that's probably the challenge of what it is right there, is that we are all involved in sales and in marketing in some way, but it's how we articulate that and how we help people to get along on that path. And I enjoy it. It's great. I think it's a great way to be able to work. And I think I've always been an advocate that if we can work together, then that's only going to be a better thing. And I think it's very rare I've ever come across people who don't want to do that, who actively choose to not be part of that. Because again, organisationally, it's hard not to be part of it. If you don't, you're almost black mark. It kind of almost goes against your name. And nobody really wants that organisationally, for whatever reason. It's just not a great thing to be in that position.
Yeah, people, we really notice it, don't we? When somebody stands apart and they don't want to play, then we really do notice that. But so I suppose from an organisation point of view, and thinking about what you're required to do in your role, some of it is about creating the right conditions, isn't it? So that everybody feels that they can contribute collaborative way, whatever that looks like and whatever the outcome is that you're driving towards. And I think that's one of the challenges, is creating those right conditions.
It is, totally. And I mean, there's something really there for me around, you have to have the right intent around what is it that you want to create and what do you want to cultivate there. And you can't expect anybody else to do that. So if you want there to be a collaborative environment that you're going to be in, So that's my perspective on it. Is that if I want that for the client, for the groups that I work with, then I have to fundamentally believe that that's the right way to do it. Yeah. And then in doing so, I have to design the environment to be supportive of that. Mm-hmm. And in that includes everything from a team environment to the physical environment that we're working in, to the team environment in terms of the culture that we have and the way we work together, to the organization and what that looks like and how we do things. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff there which sits around that, which is, so if we believe this is a way to do things, it's not just you can just do team meetings better together. Mm-hmm. It sits right across the piece of, well, no, it needs to be, I need to feel that I can do this. And if I don't feel that, then it's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how good a facilitator I am at a learning event. Once I'm back in the day job, if I don't feel I can collaborate with someone, then it's just not going to happen.
Mm. Okay, so on that note, that leads me really nicely into my last question, which is if you could collaborate with absolutely anybody, anyone you choose on the entire planet, or possibly beyond if you know of anyone on a different planet, then who would you love to collaborate with and why?
This is a really hard one because I really don't know. I just don't know who the hell would I want to collaborate with. That's so broad. I mean, there's a lot of people who I enjoy, or rather not people, there's a lot of topics which I thoroughly enjoy. So I enjoy things like, clearly you mentioned positive psychology earlier, so that's a big area of interest. But then outside of that, and things like emotional intelligence and the learning and development field, I'm interested in things like astronomy and the stars and the universe and the sky, and so maybe I'd like to collaborate with oh God, I can't remember the guy's name, the guy who does the science program, the Wonders of Science. What's his name?
Brian Cox.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, wanting to be a pop star.
Yeah, him. So maybe I'd like to maybe I'd like to do something with him, but I don't know. And then at the same time, I enjoy Disney a lot. I think Disney is a great, not a great company as such, but they do some really wonderful creative stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to be able to collaborate with them as an entity in terms of what they produce, because I just love the output of what they create. And I think that's just, it's brilliant. So there's something there around what that is. And then, I don't know, there's just so many things. Who would I don't know. I'd love to collaborate. I'd love to learn more about and collaborate with the engineers who produce Aston Martin cars, because I love the car. It's a blindingly beautiful car, and how do they do that? How do you come together and decide that this is what the car's going to look like and produce something that you can drive on the road, something that looks like that? It's amazing. So there's just, it's a good question, but it's a hard question because there's just so much in terms of what's out there. There's so much, and I love that there's so much, but it also means that I just don't even know where I would begin with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, but yeah, I mean you've thrown out a number of options there. So if there is a circle of collaboration out there, that means we can point those people in your direction.
Yeah.
I suspect there won't be an Aston Martin pulling up outside your office, but who knows? You've been a great guest. Thank you so much. We're coming to the end of our time together.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you. This has been the 9th episode in the Collaborate Live series. I think we're taking a break next week, and then we'll be back the week after. But thank you so much, Sukh. Really, really great to chat with you and get your insights into collaboration. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.